The first time I pulled the trigger on my ranch wasn't for hunting or shooting practice. It was to defend what belonged to me from a man who had no business being there. And the worst part, he wasn't a thief or a vagrant or someone who got lost. He was an HOA enforcer, a wannabe authority figure from a housing development that wasn't even connected to my property. Before we get started, drop a comment about which country you're watching from and please subscribe my channel. Let's see how widely this story reaches. When I initially relocated out here to Dry Creek, I believed I'd escaped all that neighborhood drama behind. My ranch stretched across 50 acres of open grassland and mesquite scrub, property I'd earned through hard work, with a home I'd constructed piece by piece. Out here, I anticipated tranquility. I anticipated the only movement to be deer stirring at sunrise and livestock wandering at sunset. But the HOA from the adjacent housing complex had different ideas. Initially, it was minor irritations. A vehicle labeled HOA security slowly driving along my property line. The driver making notes on a pad. I'd discover notices shoved into my gate informing me my fencing wasn't authorized or my machinery wasn't visually acceptable. Complete nonsense. Their regulations ended at their community border. They held no power over me. I dismissed it until the warnings became intimidation. Fellow ranchers mentioned a supposed HOA enforcer boasting that he could straighten out that ranch if he chose to. I ignored it until the day I spotted him positioned at the edge of my land in full daylight, uniform on, arms folded, watching like he controlled the territory. His appearance was designed to frighten. It didn't end there. A week afterward, while I was tending cattle, Daisy, my German Shepherd crossbreed, rushed to the fence, barking loudly. She wasn't hostile, just watchful. The HOA enforcer grinned, extracted a pad from his uniform, and declared, "This dog's a violation. Dangerous breed. HOA regulations forbid it." I stopped cold, then chuckled. "You've lost your mind. This is my property. We're not under your HOA. He didn't even flinch. He simply continued scribbling in that pad like my statement was meaningless. Then he departed muttering, "Regulations are regulations." That phrase haunted me like a splinter. Regulations? According to whom? He possessed no authority here, no legal basis to even step onto my land. Yet he was behaving like judge, jury, and executioner. The more I pondered it, the less I could dismiss it. I chose to address it officially. I drove into town and marched directly into the HOA headquarters. The chairwoman, Linda Harper, sat behind her wooden desk with a practiced smile that never touched her eyes. "Linda," I said, controlled but determined, "your supposed HOA enforcer has been trespassing on my land, bothering me, and labeling my dog a violation. You and I both understand my ranch isn't part of your HOA." Her practiced smile remained fixed. If anything, it became more pointed. "Mr. Hayes," she said calmly, "Officer Trent is performing his duties. Your ranch might not have signed our agreement, but your property adjoins Dry Creek Estates. That means your decisions impact our homeowners. Property values, security, even appearance. Your dog barking at the fence, that's a risk. Your fencing, it's not acceptable. Officer Trent is completely justified in documenting those problems." I leaned across her desk. "No, he isn't. You and I both understand your regulations end at the subdivision line. You have no control over me, my property, or my dog." Her expression hardened, though her voice stayed sweet. Sometimes the boundaries on paper don't show the full situation. Trent recognizes that he's not bothering you. He's safeguarding the neighborhood. If you're wise, you'll work with us instead of opposing us. Safeguarding the neighborhood? I snapped. By trespassing, by threatening my dog. She pushed a file across the desk. Inside were photos, my fence line, my barn, even a fuzzy image of Daisy. Every detail was dated and recorded. "Documentation," Linda said smoothly. "If we need to take this further, this will carry more weight than your complaints." Something in my stomach turned cold. This wasn't a confusion. This was a coordinated effort. I stood, pushing the file back toward her. "You've overstepped, Linda. Keep off my property and tell your enforcer to do likewise." Her smile finally broke, but not into worry, into something self-satisfied. Be careful, Mr. Hayes. Regulations are regulations, and regulations always find people who think they're exempt from them. 2 days had gone by since I sat in Linda Harper's office, warning her about her so-called HOA enforcer. She hadn't paid attention. She supported him, even had the nerve to claim he was safeguarding the neighborhood. I should have realized then it wouldn't conclude with conversation. I was out by the barn fixing a section of fence that had loosened in the summer heat. Daisy, my German Shepherd mix, trotted beside me the way she always did. Her tail moved lazily, her nose reading the breeze. The cicadas were humming, the sun hung high, and the scent of fresh hay filled the air. Serenity, that's what I'd worked toward. Then Daisy's bark destroyed it. It wasn't her typical warning bark. It was piercing, desperate, filled with anger and terror. I dropped the post driver and turned. The HOA enforcer wasn't at the road, wasn't lurking by the fence line. He was inside my yard, boots trampling my ground like he had complete authority. His uniform read HOA enforcer in bold capital letters like a disguise that could give him power he didn't possess. And worse, his fist was wrapped around Daisy's collar, yanking her neck until she yelped. My temper flared. "Release my dog," I shouted, my voice echoing across the field. He wouldn't. Instead, he smirked and snarled. "This animal's a violation. Aggressive breed. HOA regulations prohibit it." That was the instant I understood this wasn't posturing. He wasn't just showing power. He was prepared to harm her. And the law was evident. Texas Penal Code 30.05 made his trespassing a crime. Penal Code 42.092 made his cruelty to Daisy a felony. He was violating both right before my eyes. I didn't pause to consider alternatives. Instinct and responsibility merged in my chest. My pistol rested in the leather holster attached to my belt, same spot it always was when I worked the ranch. My hand located it without thinking. The weight was familiar, substantial, reliable. Daisy whimpered, her paws scratching at the earth, attempting to break free of his hold. My thumb pulled the hammer back. The crisp metallic sound cut through the air. "Final warning," I told him, my voice quiet and firm, barrel aimed directly at his chest. He only sneered broader, his grip got tighter. Daisy cried out in agony. That was enough. I squeezed the trigger. The explosion boomed across the open field, smoke rising from the barrel as the HOA enforcer collapsed like a bag of rocks. Daisy broke free, her tail low but alive, racing straight to me. I knelt down, gathering her in my arms, her heart pounding against my chest, the sharp smell of gunpowder still hanging in the air. I glanced over at him. He wasn't moving. His notepad lay in the dust, pages flapping in the warm wind. The uniform that gave him false authority now appeared like nothing more than a cheap outfit. In that moment, I understood everything had shifted. This wasn't a disagreement anymore. This wasn't flyers on a gate or arrogant smirks across the fence line. This was blood on my land. And when law enforcement came knocking, as they certainly would, I'd stand behind what I'd done. Because in Texas, a man protects his home, a man protects his dog. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get more intense. The quiet didn't last long. Daisy huddled against my leg, ears back, whimpering. I holstered the pistol, my hands steady, even as my heart raced. Out here, gunshots carry far. I knew before the dust cleared that someone had heard. Sure enough, the sound of tires on gravel followed. Minutes later, a white county sheriff's SUV pulled up my driveway. 2 deputies climbed out, hands resting near their weapons. They took one look at the HOA enforcer, lying in the dirt, and their expressions grew serious. "Sir, drop the weapon," one commanded. I lifted my hands, slow, careful. "It's holstered." He trespassed. He put his hands on my dog. Texas Penal Code 30.05 and 42.092. You know precisely what that means. The younger deputy crouched by the man, checking his pulse. "He's breathing," he said. "Unconscious, but breathing." The older deputy gave me a stern look. "You shot him?" I defended my dog, I said steadily. He had no right to be here. Look at his uniform. HOA enforcer. That's not law enforcement. That's trespassing in a costume. Before they could respond, a gleaming black Mercedes rushed up the driveway. Out stepped Linda Harper, HOA chairwoman herself, her heels clicking on gravel like gunshots. This is unacceptable, she declared. That man is a properly appointed HOA officer, and you just committed attempted murder. The deputy shot back, Ma'am, you better watch your language. HOAs don't have officers. What he did was criminal impersonation at best. You're already in trouble if you sent him here. Linda's face went pale. She tried to recover, sneering. Our community borders his property. That makes it community adjacent. We have the authority to enforce. No, you don't. The deputy interrupted her. You're a civil homeowners association. You have zero law enforcement power outside your subdivision. What happened here is trespassing, animal cruelty, and now an aggravated assault case because your man was dressed like law enforcement. That's a felony under Texas Penal Code 37.11, impersonating a public servant. For the first time, Linda was speechless. The paramedics arrived, loading the unconscious enforcer onto a gurney. Daisy growled as they passed, and I kept my hand on her back, calming her. The sheriff himself arrived not long after, examined the scene, and confirmed what I already knew. I wasn't being arrested. Instead, Linda was placed in the back of a patrol car for questioning. Within a week, the consequences hit like a storm. The so-called HOA enforcer was officially charged with criminal trespass, 30.05, animal cruelty, 42.092, impersonating a public servant, 37.11, and assault. The district attorney added aggravated harassment for his continued campaign against me. Linda didn't escape either. Messages and board documents proved she authorized him to patrol property outside the HOA's authority. That earned her charges of conspiracy, aiding and abetting impersonation, and civil liability for harassment. The HOA board panicked, facing lawsuits from residents, penalties from the county, and negative publicity spread across every local news channel. They voted Linda out in shame. Membership dropped, funds disappeared, and within 3 months, the HOA filed documents to dissolve completely. Neighbors I hardly knew approached me in town to shake my hand. One elderly rancher told me, "Son, you didn't just protect your dog. You protected every one of us from that madness." As for the enforcer, still recovering from the gunshot, he eventually accepted a plea agreement. 2 years in state prison and a permanent ban from serving on any HOA board or neighborhood patrol. Linda faced enormous fines and lost her house to cover legal costs. Me? I walked Daisy across my property every morning, pistol at my side, the air fresh and peaceful again. No more notices, no more vehicles prowling my fence line, just tranquility, the kind of tranquility you only value after you've had to fight for it. The HOA thought they could impose their regulations on my world. But out here, there's only one regulation that counts. A man protects what's his.